Hello everyone, this is Johnny with BallBreakers Clan, bringing you another video from MiniClip and Ultimate Golf. If you'd like to join us and play along with us, you can find a description or the link to this in the description below. You can also find other great streamers in the same area. This is another episode of how I'm going to attempt to see if I can become competitive in Ultimate Golf. Today I'm going to stream the second round of the Sinful 6 tournament and maybe some other tournaments, we'll see based on time. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the Sinful 6 is a tournament where you play from the front tees. It's a pretty interesting format. It'll put you a lot closer than you normally play, and you have a good chance of getting, extras in this. And you only play against 6 people. The top 3 advance. So you can see there are 3 people finished in my bracket already. Minus 21, minus 19, and minus 11. So our goal in this, because I need the points for the Ultimate Cup, is to get first place. And looks like as long as I get everything cleared, I should be able to get above that, but hopefully we'll get a couple extras. Let me make sure I have the correct clubs in my bag, because I was doing some Royales earlier and I used different clubs for the Royales. I like to have the Ninja for shooting tournaments just because of the ball guide. And I'm going to switch to the Hellfire here. We may need the El Capitan on some of the par 5s, but hopefully not. And I have the Root and the Highlander in. I'm choosing the Highlander right now over the Red Barchetta 2 because I'm getting a little bit longer drives with my Highlander. I'm pretty sure that'll end once the Red Barchetta 2 gets a few more upgrades, but I'm not there yet. Let's see. This is the semifinal round, so the rewards aren't until the next round. So I'm going to try to limit to basic balls because I don't want to use any paid balls until I get to that point. So this will be mostly run with Mojaves and High Flights, which are, your basic reward balls that you get from a lot of other tournaments and from the Royales. Alright, so hole 1 is a par 4. It's got a nice little curve in it. Let's see what kind of wind we got. Yesterday we had a whole lot of headwinds and cross headwinds, which didn't help us get down there too far. So here we got a nice tail, but with that curl it's going to be hard to get. So I'm going to choose a high flight so I can kind of turn around the corner here. Now, if I remember from yesterday, I need to take some of that top off. And at 3 to 1, I'm going to do 3 rings, and I'm going to push it back up. So there's the 3 rings. And push back up, and then I'm going to add a little bit of curl on here. There's not a lot on this club. And we're hoping to get pretty close to the green in wedge range, but we run into the rough, so we'll be using that ninja that we put in. And the ninja is a pretty accurate club and has a decent ball guide. So we're pretty short here. And we got a tailwind, so I'm just going to do a no adjust. Now we have restarts on this. And so if I don't get this drop, I may look at restarting it, putting a little less top spin on it so we can stay in the rough. Or stay away from the rough. But let's go ahead and take this shot and see if we can get the drop and move on. So we hit great. So it looks like it did need just a little bit of adjustment there. So we're going to go ahead and use one of our restarts. As you can see, there are 25 on this tournament and they're free. So there's no point in not restarting when you don't get the eagle on the first one. But as you can see, we now have a different wind. So I'm still going to use the max left curl. I'm only going to go 3 top this time. Just a little under 3 rings because I'm using 3 to 1. Push back to max again. And add that curl. And see if we can get into wedge range this time. So as you can see, we're a little bit further back, but we're going to be in wedge range. Let's see how close of a wedge, because we did have room for more top here. If we miss this, we know that we can go back and go for a little bit more top and get a little bit closer. So that's about where we want to aim. So we're looking at about 45% club. So about 3.9 on the adjustment. This has a 72% shot view. So I'm gonna go, as you can see from the turn in the green, I'm gonna go a little bit on the left side of the pin and short about 30% of that view. And then we're just going to do about 4 rings since we're so close. And just a little over adjusted. So with each shot, we learn just a little bit more on how to get this first drop. So now we have a little bit stronger wind. We know that 3 top was a good line, but just a little short. So there's the max left spin. Let's go 4 top this time. I'm going to go 3.1 rings because we're doing 3 to 1. Pushing back to max. And then we're also using our curl. So it looks like for top is going to be right about where we want to be to get the closest as we can. We have a fairly straight wind on this time, so given how close we are in the straight wind, we're just going to set up pretty much a no adjust, a little short of the cup, and we should drop it this time. And there we go. So we got our first drop, and now we can move on to the second hole, not have to worry about restarting anymore. So we have a par 3 on the second one. Looks like we're at max Bigfoot. So I'm going to start by trying to line up my ball guide with the hole. And what I want to do is get to where I have there we go, the bounce down of the guide in the center of the screen and going towards the pin. And now I'm going to change my spins to try to line everything up all nice and straight. Now, this is a headwind, so I'm going to have to let off some of the backspin. Max back will be a little too much because it'll pull us up short. Just need a little bit of left there, not much. We're going to do 5.8 rings. So there's 4. .8. I'm going to give it some overpower. Now I could have switched to the root and backed out and used it instead. And since it was a headwind, that's probably the smarter move there. Or I could have switched to the Mojave, which is a longer ball. So then I would have definitely been able to set up as close without the overpower. Alright, so we got a par 5 and we got a headwind. So first thing I'm going to do is switch to the Mojave because it's going to give me a longer shot. And I'm going to adjust this 3 rings. And hopefully we'll be able to reach the green. The headwinds make it a little bit harder to reach the green. But with the Hellfire and a tailwind, that's not a problem. Alright, so we have our Hellfire in, we have a tailwind. I'm going to go ahead and go with max back in this instance. And we're going to go about 2 to 1 on this. So 4.3. The center circle is a little bigger, so it doesn't look like I'm adjusting 4.3, but I am. And I'm going to lay off on making sure I don't overpower this, just clicking it into because of the tailwind. So not the best of tiebreakers. We caught that slope. Again, the root probably would have been a better club there, but it would have been shorter and a little bit more work on adjusting. So we're going to swap our ball back to our high flight because we have this bend. And we have a crosswind instead of a tailwind, so I can't go for the longer part towards the green there. I'm going to have to land down here and try to curl around it. I'm going to go with just the 3 top. And I'm going to go 3.2 rings. I'm going to add the curl onto this as well. Again, just trying to make sure we hold the green so we can use our next club. So 2 top would have been a little better on that shot there. We just got pushed from secondary wind, but we can still reach and have a decent shot with our ninja. We're going to set up just on the right side of the cup. And with the 9 wind, I'm going to push up. We do get our ultimate shot. But we need a little more adjustment. Generally with the wedges and the sands and the rough irons, you can't just eyeball it unless you're super close, say under 25% of the club length. Another headwind. Now this, if you look at the slope, you can see that this slopes to the right, so you want to favor the left side. We're going to do 2.6 rings, and I'm going to use a little bit of curl to kind of hold the fairway. And a lot of these greens, if we could get a tailwind, are drivable. But if we keep getting the headwinds, you know, we're going to just be in the same situation of having long to short wedges. So it's been great practice for wedge work. So it looks like we're at max wedge. And I'm going to do 2 to 1 here on this wedge, and since it's a headwind, I'm going to go ahead and just put the guide at the pin as my lineup I'm going to let off a little bit of that backspin because although this has very little backspin, it tends to rip back a lot further than you think. And let's do 16 rings. Alright, so we're going to have to adjust our plan of attack here. We're going to have to go long and push back. Because we don't have enough rings to adjust. So I usually set this up 2 rings from the tip. So we'd have to push back about 6 rings here, or underpower it. And we are probably going to have to do both underpower and a push back. So I'm going to push it back first as far as I can and see how many rings that is. So it's about 4.5 rings. And then just a little bit of underpower. You can see we really need 1 more rings. It landed right at the pin, or more underpower. Those are really hard to judge when you get in that situation. Hey Quad, how's it going? The shot clock on this, on the tournament, there isn't one. You get as long as you want. So that's really nice. I can, if I don't have, so like you saw on that one, I didn't like my shot, so I had time to go back and readjust and choose a different shot. Sorry, didn't see your chat. It was on the wrong screen. So that's the nice thing about the tournaments. Now you do get a little bit of a shot clock in regular play. It really depends on your opponent. I think the shot clock's about 45 seconds there. But on this, on tournaments, no shot clock. You have all the time you need. If you want to get up and leave and get a drink and come back, you can. You can also save and exit and come back and play it again later. It makes it really nice for learning. So this tree is in play. It isn't for this particular shot, but it is in general. As you can see, whenever the guide turns red or disappears, that means you're going to hit the tree. We have a headwind, so I'm not going to switch clubs. Normally I will switch to the root in this case, but the root is shorter. So what I'm trying to do is find a spot to where even if I misadjust, I'm not going to hit that tree. So I'm going to set up right there. Yeah, that's one of the things that have been nice about this for tournaments. No opponents, so I can take as long as I need. No one spamming me. You know, stuff like that. some of the things we've asked for in Golf Clash but haven't gotten. So, I mean, if you want to play along with this, I can even play some friendlies against you at some time. If you download the link in the description and type in my friend code, you can give it a shot. If you have any questions about it as you try to play, some of the things people struggle with the most is putting, because the putting is a little bit different. The key to putting in this game is to watch where it's lit up. Take the chat out of Golf Clash. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be able to say good luck or good game at the end, but some people do abuse it and spam. I don't like when I practice that I have an opponent. I get where they're coming from when they say, you know, that they want to use us to police whether or not we see cheating. But, you know, when I'm practicing, I don't really need someone to police if there's cheating in practice. Because the practice doesn't go towards anything. I'm using it to line up shots, figure out distances. Alright, so let's see where we're at in our club. So there's max club. We got a tailwind. So we're going to use our Spectre short iron, and we're going to use max back. Now, if you look when I move forward on this green, you see how it starts to roll back down the green on the tip of the guide? That means we have to be careful where we set this up, because it is going to spin back. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a little bit off the backspin, because while I do want it to stop, I don't want it to fully spin back. So also, if you look at the guide, when it bounces to the left. So I'm going to set up about right there, so that way we can maybe bounce and spin back into the hole. I'm just going to go ahead and put the guide right against the pin there. We're going to go 6.8 rings. I'm going to do this in 2 pools. So try to line up my shot. Actually, I'm going to do just a little less than 6.8. I'm going to do 6.5. So we do hit our ultimate shot, which is the same as perfect in Golf Clash. We'll see how well we adjusted. Just a little under adjusted. Probably should have stuck with the 6.8. I had lowered it because I wasn't exactly at max. But it was close enough. I should have just stuck with the max. Now, if I used premium balls on this, this would be a lot easier, because the premium balls are longer and they have wind resistance, and we get plenty of free premium balls. This tournament alone on the final round will award 15 premium balls, trophy balls. So I'm trying to save using them for the final round, because at this point it's just a matter of getting a decent tiebreaker for the Ultimate Cup and getting to the final round. Again, another par 4 that could be drivable in the right wind conditions and headwind for us. Maybe if we're lucky, they're saving all the tailwinds for the final round. So 3 rings. And this does slope a little bit to the right, so I'm going to give it a little bit of counter curl. Now today being Saturday, I actually have 3 tournaments that I can play. but I wanted to play this one first because it's not as stressful as far as making mistakes. That's true, Quad. There's lots of people who have tried to report things they've seen and they just get, oh, it was a glitch, or oh, it was an error. We have algorithms in place to catch cheaters. And it's like, you're telling us that you want us to report them, and that's why you're forcing us to play, matches in a tournament against each other. Okay, there's our spot. And we're going to adjust 6.7. And I'm going to make sure that I don't overpower this. So I'm going to go just until it clicks green. We were aimed right. We just had a little bit extra bounce. Now, once I get clubs with better guides, I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to adjust those and drop those a little bit more often. Right now, I'm still having a little bit of trouble determining how far I need to be away from the pin on tailwinds and headwinds. Again, another potential drivable. Par 4. But headwind. Hey Redu, thanks for the good luck. So far on our Sinful 6, I've gotten almost all headwinds except for hole 1. They are not being very friendly with this front tee for me. Yeah, not in this wind, it's not drivable. But I know it is in tailwind because I've driven it before in tailwind. They're holding me back. They're not letting me have all those nice high scores by driving the greens. So again, I should have given it some overpower. This is more of a cross, so I'm going to set back and play the wedge. Alright, so let's set our spins. Just a little bit more. Too much. There we go. So we're all lined up at the hole. 7.6. Gonna go just under 2 to 1 because I'm not at the max of the club. So I'm gonna go 14. We'll see how that comes in. So there's 10. I'm sorry, 8. 4, 8. 12. And 14. And since almost every single one of those pulls were into headwind, I'm going to remove the backspin, put on one top. Hitting a great left shot's not going to help. And needed to put a little more top on there to counteract that. Nice to see you got your rapier rule out, video out. That's pretty important. For those of you that do play Golf Clash that watch this, Radu's link for his channel should be in the description below. And you can see that rapier rule. A lot of people have been asking for a rule to break down shooting the rapier. Wait until next year, Quad. You got a tournament next week. You might need it. We finally get a slight tailwind, but of course, it's on one of the longest par 4s. So 2.5 rings. A little less. There you go, Quad. Pop into Radu's live stream later today. Alright, so we got a wedge. We've got a nice straight wind. Let's see what percent of wedge we are at. You know, hopefully we can get another drop here. The wind is definitely favorable for it. Now, had I used a premium ball, I probably would have even been closer than this. Alright, so it looks like I'm right at 50% club. That's about where I want to be aiming at. And I have 8.3 wind. So I'm going to go 5.1, and I'm going to line this up short of and in line with the hole. Because, as I've said before, this has about 70% shot view. It looks pretty in line. So let's go 5.1 rings. So there's 4. And 5.1. Hey, John Bell, thanks for the good luck. You're done with tournaments? Gonna use up all your money balls? I know a lot of people are starting to get a little fed up with it and get a little burnout. It's easy to get burnout. We were just a little off. As you can see, the ball rolled to the right on the green just a little bit. I thought we would have enough on our setup, but we needed to favor the left side of the pin for that little bit of shot view that was out of. So I'm still working with the Hellfire on this and trying to figure out where I need to set up for it. So I'm not expecting to make any drops with the Hellfire just yet. Right now I'm still using about 2 to 1, so we'll go 4.5. This is headwind, so I'll take it up to 5. But as far as knowing how far it's going to roll, I don't have that information yet. As you can see, there's not much of a guide to go by here. You can see that it bounces to the left. So this has got a pretty strong slope to the left on this. So we're going to use some spin to counteract that. That's true, Quad. With all the different wind angles, you know, it's very easy to have a shot that worked and the wind angle be so completely different in Golf Clash that you're going to be a whole square off. And I think that's their attempt to reduce the use of people like me and Radu that make shots. Oh, no wonder that guy was so far off. I had spin on it already. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to have to reduce the back. I'm going to take it down to 1. And I'm going to give it some overpower. And we'll see how that winds up. So that didn't roll very far at all after the bounce. And that's for everyone, Quad. When I'm practicing shots, the par 3s at the last main tournament, I noticed, some of them I could not get, if the wind angle was different, to replicate without adding curl or extra spins. And it's just, change up from what they had before. People get used to something and it gets changed. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well, John. Sandy's still doing well as well. Oh, good shot's not going to help there. So I've been enjoying playing this game. It's a nice break from Golf Clash, which can be a little bit of a grind and a little bit of a wear. So for me, it's been a nice little break. It's back to when I just first started Golf Clash and first started working everything out. That's right, yeah, there's so many. I think, was it hole 8 last tournament, Radu? And Expert had, I noticed at least 5 or 6 different wind angles because of the crosswind. Which is just ridiculous. How, without taking a whole bunch of shots, how am I supposed to come up with everything for all of, that large of a number of shots? Hey, Vivek, thanks for the good luck. I'm glad you're liking it, John. I mean, so far, some people have given up on it fairly quickly. They've liked some aspects of it, but say they don't like the putting, or when you're starting something brand new, they don't want to start all over from scratch. And I understand that. It's hard to start something all over from scratch. Yeah, Quad made some really beautiful note sheets that he showed me after the last tournament. As far as the visual aesthetics of his shot guide, it was really nice. I got lucky on 8 that I didn't hit grades, but I didn't miss the rough bump on any of them. Some of them were really close. More headwind. This course does not want to give me a tailwind. Now, everybody does not get the same wind on these courses. So, Vivek and Radu, when they play theirs, they may well get tailwinds. You don't really know what your opponent has. You can look at their scorecards and kind of figure it out. For example, I think it was hole 18 on the last round. I had a headwind. I couldn't reach, but multiple others in the group could reach. On hole 18, Jared specifically got a tailwind on the last one, and I had a headwind. Because we discussed, the winds, and I was like, how were you able to drive the green on that one? I was at max wedge. And he's like, I had tailwind. I was able to drive it no problem. Or not drive it, but, get on the green with the second shot, no problem. I had double headwind, and Duff was like, yeah, when it's a random wind, you don't know what you're going to get. It's kind of luck of the draw. And, he's like, double headwind on that hole has killed many a rounds for many a players. So when it's random, it is completely random. Now there will be, like hole 1, I got a tailwind. You may not get a tailwind. Oh, you had double headwind as well? Big difference in club between that last one and this one. But yeah, on hole 18 last time, I did max overpower on the drive, max overpower on the second shot, and barely got into wedge. So here's a good example of how I do my long putts. So there's the green. You see how wide, you got a little extra room in there. And so I go just into it. That way I have a little bit of room for a very slight off the center to the right, a little bit more room for slight off to the center to the left, because I tend to release off center to the left. You find your own, then you know where you need to set up in it. You get headwind all the time, John? Yeah, a lot. I think he was just frustrated more because, you were willing to discuss it with some others, but not everyone. But that's, yeah, luck of the draw sometimes on these makes a huge difference. Like if this was tailwind on this hole, you could drive almost the green. You might even be able to drive the green on tailwind on this hole. But again, I get across, which puts me pretty far back, and again at max wedge. We already know I'm not very good with my wedge. Alright, so looks like I'm going to need just a little bit of left spin to straighten out my guide. Line everything up all nice and neat. I like the fact on this game that you can tap specifically where you want the spins, and you don't have to sit there and try to move the ball around to find the spin. If I want 3/4 of a bar of left spin, I can just tap at the 3/4 of a bar, and it takes it right there. I'm better than you with the wedge? I doubt that. I mean, you're still using the Zeus also, right? My Atlas is only level 2, so I haven't been able to really get the Atlas upgraded. Alright, so 2 to 1 is going to be 16.6. I am going to go ahead and call this max, since we were pretty close to it. So 4, 8, 12, 16, and then about 0.6 there. I'm not going to overpower it, so I'm going just into the green. Yeah, Zeus level 3, so same as me. Just a tad over adjusted there. That 0.6 I did was probably a little more than 0.6, and when you're pulling 4 times, it's easy to get a little extra each time with that. And I can get close. If I have a short wedge, I do a lot better. It's the max wedge that tends to get me. More headwind. So let's go ahead and switch, since this is a par 5, to our longer ball. So hopefully we can be sure to clear that little thin patch. I'm going to use curl on this as well to try to get it over a little bit more. You got your Spectre to level 5. Oh, great shot's not good there. Okay. That's free and clear, so that's good. But it's short, so I must yeah. So nice and free and clear. So the Hellfire has been nice in-between club for me, because it's got decent top spin and it's got decent tail spin or backspin. So I think once I figure out how far it bounces on each end, I'll be able to utilize it a lot more, especially in the head-to-heads. And I'm still using just about 2 to 1 on it. Alright, so I'm going to let off a little bit of that backspin since we hit max. I think it's just a little bit better ball guide Radu and a little bit more distance. The adjustment, I think, was pretty much... Oh, that green has a big turn there. Alright, so when you guys play this later, there's a huge right-hand bowl on this green. I mean, look at that. That ridge and uphill. So I should have let off some more backspin. Oh, that's dirty. I can't believe that stopped short. All right, Quad, have a good one. So we are definitely not getting all the drops we got yesterday. We get a tailwind when we don't need it. Ball guide at the hole. Okay. That, that's of course not what I did. Okay, so we have a tailwind. I've been using 2 rings as my spot when I have tailwind. So as you can see from the bounce there, it's going to the right side of the pin, so I need to use some spin to offset that to bring it to the pin. Now you can see everything's lined up a lot better at the pin. I'm at max on this club, so 6.3. Oh, I'm on the wrong club. 5.4. So those are some pretty big upgrades on the Spectre. I've been trying to look at other clubs to see where they're at. And we're between clubs. So what I'm going to do, 3% power might get us. Let's see if we can go back to line this up. That's a nice thing about not having a shot clock. When I have something like that happen, I can go back, reline everything up with a different ball. And this is a shorter ball, so let's see, what else do we got? The Cruiser only has wind resistance and side spin. So I will go with that and the increased wind, so that way I have more room to adjust. And because of the tailwind, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little bit of pushback. Okay, there's our ultimate shot. Let's see how that comes in with all that extra adjustment we had to do. So not too bad considering everything we had to do. Our distance was great, so the pushback helped. I probably didn't push back straight. Probably didn't pull back straight. But we were pin high, just a little to the right. So 2 more holes. I probably won't worry about replaying this. We get a nice wind finally. Let's get our Mojave in there. Put our max top spin on. Finally, we get a fun one. I'm going to set up a little more center and use some side spin. Eight wind. It's going to be, what, about 2.6, 2.7. And then I'm going to push. It's along the same line, so we have straight wind. So let's get this green. Hit a great shot. I tried to leave a little room for that. Hopefully I did. Oh, I'm going to clip the rough. I messed it up. Oh well. Should have a nice short wedge still. I think ultimate shot puts me on the green there. Alright, so we got a tailwind. And we're super short. Let's see where we are in club length. That's almost at a no adjust. Yeah, it's got to be less than 25% club. Alright, so got our backspin on there. Let's point this at the cup and then slide up. So that's about, I'd say, 33% club. It's maybe 1 ring adjustment, 1.5 rings on adjustment on that. If we were straight tail, yeah, the Barchetta probably is better. I've been getting better drives right now still out of the Highlander 4 because it got a little more distance and a little more top than my red Barchetta 2. Just a bit hot. Should have pulled back just a little more due to the tailwind. If we'd hit center pin, we probably would have dropped that. Oh, your Highlander's just a 2? Yeah, there's some big differences between Highlander 2 and Highlander 4. I'll go ahead and back out. Of course, we get a headwind on this one too. I'll back out so you can see the stats on the Highlander 4 compared to the red Barchetta 2. And claim our free bag while we're here. Alright, so you can see, yes, it is longer, but look at that top spin difference. And not that shots, shot view really matters, but that top spin difference is huge. It makes up well more than that, 14 yards. So that's the only reason I'm still using the Highlander, is because that top spin is making up that distance with top, Now, once that top spin kind of comes up on the red Barchetta, I will switch. But for now, I'm just planning on leaving the Highlander in there. And hopefully you guys can use the views of the course before you shoot to help you shoot better scores than I just shot. Still good enough to get me in first. Alright, so there's max. There's min. So what, about 60% club. Eyeballing it. Let's take a look and make sure the screen isn't going to show us any kind of spin back. It looks pretty flat. So the ball will probably just roll forward about a ring and a half, a ring. Or it's headwind, so one ring. I set up at one ring. Not too far. I'm still not good at getting this position set up quickly. So I'm going to need just a little bit of right spin. There we go. Everything's all lined up and square. And I'm going to do 6 rings. Both of your drivers have a distance of 27 yards. They can, yeah, that's pretty big to overcome. So there's 4. 5, 6. So even up above the pin, I'm not seeing much of a spin back. It still does look a little slope. I'm going to give it just a little bit more push up closer. Let's see. Now when you're practicing your where you want to land, you see the divot there that the ball just rolled back over? That lets you know where you landed compared to where you aimed. As you can see, I probably was pretty close to where I was aiming. I just didn't give it enough adjustment. And that divot stays there. It's pretty nice for practicing and figuring out, you know, how much you need to adjust your clubs. Alright, so not the best score, considering, but enough for first place. Decent sub, you know, if. Let's see how this guy's doing. Alright, so unless he replays, he's not going to pass. If someone passes me, I'll replay it, but for now I'll leave it alone. And I'll go ahead and let you guys go. Make sure to check out Radu's stream later today. Everyone have a great Saturday, and I will see you later.